Has Dr. joined in?
Live on Facebook.
Yeah, we are live on Facebook. Hi, we are waiting for Dr. Shantanu to join. And we are live on Facebook as well as on Instagram. So we are just kind of setting things up technically. And let me just check. Palak, I have accepted your request. Are you able to join me? Oh, yes, great. Hi, Palak. Thank you, Bacha. Can you hear me? Palak, are you able to hear me? Can you hear me now? Now you can hear me? Great. Cool. Palak, you can hear me. Okay, now, Palak, just quick check, okay? Just a minute. Just a minute, baby. Okay. Now, एक minute. Because, okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Okay, Palak. I can see you and you have been able to join. So I'm hoping our guest is also going to join us. Can you hear me now, Palak?
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Perfect? Okay. Makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Chal, thanks, Bacha. I'm discarding this video, and for others who have joined us, there are 17 viewers. We are going live any minute with Dr. Shantanu Abhyankar, who's a gynecologist, and he's a male gynecologist, so it's going to be very interesting. So do join us and tune in to us. I love you, Palak. Bye.
I love you too. All the best.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Can you connect me here?
One second.
You're live, huh?
Yeah, I'm live here. Okay, I am just because Dr. Shantanu Abhyankar is a very famous and a renowned gynecologist, and I'm sure he must be busy with something, so he will join us in any moment right now. So let's see how this goes. Okay. I am okay. I am just waiting for Dr. Shantanu. Yes, Dr. Shantanu is here. And hello, good evening, sir. He's connecting to his audio. Can you hear me? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hello.
How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
So, sir, there are two devices with you. It's just one. How is it?
There are two devices. I am trying to get login to the other one. Just a moment.
Yes, I will start the live so you can also join.
I'll use the Zoom on my laptop, I guess.
Yeah.
And from my cell, I'll log into the Mayur, तुझे कदाचित
Right.
मदद on the cell. I'll log into that Instagram. Okay.
Yes, we are already live on Facebook, and yes,
Can you share the
we are.
meeting ID for the Zoom login? I'll have to look up in my WhatsApp message.
Okay, fine, fine.
Just
Sure.
a meeting
Yes.
ID 374.
For people on Instagram, yes, we have logged in, and Dr. Shantanu is with us, and we are just technically setting things up. 2 minutes.
मयूर इथे माझं नाव टाकायचं ना युअर नेम मयूर इथे माझं नाव टाकायचं पासवर्ड विचारणार पासवर्ड असं दिसतंय याला काय करते
It's going to be a little different. Is everyone able to hear me on Instagram? Are you able to hear me? Please show us a thumbs up. Rameshwar, can you hear me on Instagram? Yes. Dr. Shantanu, I think I will have to remove you from the other account, right? So should I remove that?
Which one? The Zoom you mean?
Yeah, because on Zoom I can see two of you. One is the picture and
Yes.
like two.
No, I'll log out from my cell.
Yeah, and from your cell you can hop onto Instagram. I'm sorry I'm making it so complicated for you. Perfect. Rameshwar, I want you to hop on the FB page and also check if I'm audible there. Yeah, this is perfect. We're good to go. Now, Dr. Shantanu, you can't hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me now? Because I can't hear you either. No, you are not audible. You are not audible. Okay, can you speak something so I can check? Your mic is on mute.
Yeah. Hello?
Perfect. So have you joined on Instagram, doctor? Sorry guys, we are waiting, but we are just setting things up. Just 2 minutes and we are going to have an amazing conversation. We have a list of things that we are going to talk to him. So don't go. Please don't go. In fact, invite your friends to join this live session.
इंस्टाग्राम वरती लाईव्ह करण्यासाठी काय करायचं
Instagram वरती तुम्ही live करू नका sir.
त्या ह्याच्यावरती पण आहे
Dr. Shantanu, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yes. So on Instagram, what you do is you just go on Instagram, your account, and search for Cactus Foundation. You will find that Cactus Foundation is live. So you just tap on that live, and I will send you the request to join. The moment I see you in the room, I can send you the request.
Yeah, I guess you will be seeing me now.
Okay.
काही नाही ना असंच ठेवायचं.
नाही जोडायचं असेल तर ती
One,
ही ते 3 मिनिटं
the audiences can ask their questions and we will take the questions at the end of the
हे
conversation.
लाईव्ह आहे का?
नाही काय म्हणतात ते
कॅक्टस फाउंडेशन लाईव्ह.
Yes. तर तुम्ही त्याच्यावरती फक्त टॅप केलं तर तुम्हाला येईल सर.
Yeah. But then I can see the icon as series and
No, live. On the Cactus Foundation profile ID picture, no, असं live तुम्हाला zoom
okay, live, yeah.
तुम्ही त्याला असं फक्त click करा.
I can see you there. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yes.
live. On the Cactus Foundation profile ID picture, no, असं live तुम्हाला zoom होत असेल. तुम्ही त्याला असं फक्त click करा your inside box. Yes. So can you just type a hi to me? Yes. I have sent you a request to join live.
Yeah, go live with Cactus Foundation.
Yes, you have to accept it.
Yeah, I have did.
Wow, perfect.
Wow, perfect. We nailed it.
Okay. Now for the microphone,
What you can do is, जो Zoom चा आहे sir,
त्याला तुम्ही headphone connect करू
headphone
नका.
connect करू नका. So you are listening to the Instagram
And talking. म्हणजे आवाज
आवाज गुंतणार नाही.
Mayur, so you mean to say that I have to हे आवाज होऊ नये म्हणून काय करतो स्विच ऑफ बंद करून
मला कुठून बोलायचंय आपल्या डिव्हाइस कुठून
एकाच याच डिव्हाइस वरून असं मला हॅलो
Yes.
Can you speak something so that I'll know if there's an echo?
Okay, I am audible and you are audible as well.
Okay, but then on Instagram it's not totally silent as yet.
No, it won't be silent on Instagram. Is everyone able to hear Dr. Shantanu? Nighat, can you just answer us, please? Rameshwar, Nighat, anybody from the team? Are we able to hear Dr. Shantanu? Can anyone just send a thumbs up on Instagram? Are you able to hear Dr. Shantanu? Dr. Shantanu, please speak something.
Hello, this is Dr. Shantanu Abhyankar. I'll be live with Madam Nusrat in a short time from now.
Okay, I think you can. Okay, so we are starting the live discussion now. Can you keep your Zoom on mute, sir?
The Zoom on mute.
No, don't keep the Zoom on mute. I think we're fine. Rameshwar, are you able to hear all of us? Again, one more yes. Rameshwar, are we both audible on Instagram? Yes,
Echo is
there will
there.
be a slight echo. Yes, there will be a slight echo because we are logged in from 2 different devices at both the ends. So kindly spare us for the audio quality, but you will be able to listen carefully is what we are trying to do. So what you can do is sir, जो आपका लैपटॉप का वॉल्यूम है उसको कम कीजिएगा. आप आपके हेडफोन से सुनिएगा सिर्फ.
Okay.
अगर आपका हेडफोन इंस्टाग्राम को अटैच्ड है तो किस चीज को अटैच्ड है आपका हेडफोन? लैपटॉप को है या आपके इंस्टाग्राम को है?
No, my headphone is connected to my laptop. That is the Zoom. That is the Zoom account.
Yes, so you hear through the Instagram, you respond through it, or else you can use the headphone for the Instagram account. That is also
No, I
fine.
can't do that. This headphone doesn't go with my mobile.
Perfect then. We'll continue like this. And we will just reduce the volume of your what you call it laptop. म्हणजे लॅपटॉपचा साऊंड बाहेर यायला नको. That is all that you need to do.
नाही येतंय. मी त्याला हे जोडलंय.
चालेल. आणि मग
दार ओढून
इंस्टाग्रामचा
घे.
व्हॉल्यूम कमी करा तुम्ही. तुमच्या फोनचा व्हॉल्यूम कमी करा फक्त मग.
केलंय पण beyond the limit I don't think it can happen.
ठीक है. चलेगा. Okay, now I think we are set. Now whatever it is, we are starting this because we don't want to waste time. Dr. Shantanu is here. Before we begin, let me introduce this amazing, human being and an amazing doctor, a very renowned gynecologist. And yes, when we floated this idea of, Dr. Shantanu Abhyankar will be live, and when people read gynecologist, we got plenty of messages. especially from mothers who are like, why do you need a gynecologist and why do you need a male gynecologist? Didn't you find any female gynecologist? And we took that as an opportunity to bust all the gender biases that people have, sir. So we have been answering calls, we have been texting people. So he's a famous and a renowned gynecologist. He's practicing in Y, that is in Satara district. He's been an alumni of BJ Medical College, and he's been practicing in the rural area for almost 25 years, more than 25 years. He is not just a doctor, he is also a very renowned author, I would say, and he has been the president of the local gynecology and obstetrics society, and he's very active socially. He's also a lot of innovations and techniques, in the surgery. He has that to his credit. And in women's health, he was awarded the Dr. Anandibai Joshi Gaurav Puraskar by the government of Maharashtra in the year 2007. And he's an excellent orator. He's a blogger. You can find him on Instagram, you can find him on YouTube, and you can also find him on Facebook. His YouTube channel has more than 9 million hits, and the topics are amazing. Of course, he's an orator, but he talks about gender, he talks about sex education, sexuality, and I have had this personal, what you call, is interaction with him, and his ideas are so progressive, and it's amazing to have you with us. And there are a lot of books that he's written. If you can visit his social media pages and handles, you will definitely get to know about it. So, welcome to Cactus Foundation's forum, and we are having a lot of people who are seeing you. And you're the first man in this series, because it's very difficult for us to find men to interview, honestly speaking. I might sound a little sexist or biased, but no offense to anybody. But when we thought about this series, you were the first person who actually crossed our mind, and we said we have to have Dr. Abhyankar with us. So I will not talk much. I am so dying to hear you, and I'm sure our audiences are also wanting to listen to you. We have people from Hyderabad, Kanpur, UP, almost all parts of India on Instagram as well as on Facebook who are watching you, and we are thrilled to start this. So, the first thing that I'd like to know is, I hope you got the time to get to know the 12 action point that Cactus Foundation has floated to raise responsible boys, and a dialogue needs to begin in. Do you think it is essential that we run such a campaign, and why do you think it is essential?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all those kind words and this long and probably unwarranted introduction. And it is your work and your talk that actually needs to be highlighted more than what I have been doing, because I am in private practice in a small town. The Cactus Foundation and its work, I got a glimpse of your work when you were in Mahabaleshwar for the State Obstetrics and Gynec Conference. And it was really wonderful today talking to you and getting to know all the exchanging ideas. Of course, as you rightly said, the 12-point program that you are running is an essential skills program. That is how I would put it. And it actually endows children, boys, ideally, with all those 12 skills that are life skills, so important in growing up, creating relationships, and maintaining them in the long term. So I believe that it is very, very important. See, boys are in fact at a disadvantage as compared to girls when it comes to adolescent education. And the reason is that, come what may, the girl will attain puberty and will attain menarche. She will start bleeding, and the mother will have to speak to her when she attains puberty, attains menarche. Boys are actually physiologically not endowed with any such phenomenon, and therefore they are actually left to fend for themselves. And all the information that they get about sex, sexuality growing up is either through their peer group or somebody, some senior cousin, or from, of course, pornography and the net nowadays. So once upon a time, we used to have periodicals which were available on the local bus stand, and then they used to carry all the notorious stories and information. Now that
Right,
job is done by much more effectively and graphically by
right,
internet, I guess.
right. Yes, and because of the internet and because of no source of authentic information, I think there's a lot of disinformation and there's a lot of misguiding the youth that's happening. And then I think that surely leads to watching pornography also at much later stages, having all the confusions about sex, sexuality, and a lot of expectations that are just not realistic. And I'm sure you must have so many experiences to share because of this issue. So thank you so much that you kind of have endorsed this campaign in a way, and we are so happy to have you. The next question that I have for you is that you are a gynecologist, and what made you choose this field? Because this is primarily like dominated by women, and if it's the term gynecologist, the first thing that comes to our mind is a woman, a woman gynecologist, especially in India. Of course, for my counterparts from abroad, they will probably not agree to this, but in India especially, a gynecologist is someone who's a woman, and that's how it is perceived. So how difficult has your journey been, being a man and being a gynecologist? How difficult or how easy, how challenging has it been? And can you share any interesting experiences or any experiences related to gender bias? Because you must have gone through your own gender biases, discrimination, biases. We would love to
Yes,
hear that.
women do discriminate against male gynecologists. First of all, I chose gynecology because you see the whole of medical field is divided. There's a vertical division. There used to be a vertical division as surgery and medicine, and surgeons were considered to be inferior than the physicians because the physicians appeared first. People who gave medicines gave something to chew, and people got better. Whereas surgeons, they did all the bad jobs,
Right.
opening abscesses, amputating limbs, and suturing people when even anesthesia was not known. So the bad job was done by the surgeons. Even today, the nursing colleges, they teach their students that if a physician and a surgeon walk into the ward at the same time, the senior nurse should accompany the physician and the junior one should accompany the surgeon. So I actually
We
chose
didn't know this.
gynecology. Yes. So I chose gynecology because it was probably the best of both the worlds. As a gynecologist, you are using medicines to make people better, but at the same time, you are using your surgical skills to the utmost because many gynecological and obstetric conditions will require surgical intervention.
Absolutely.
That was one. Secondly, we are in a unique position when we take care of two lives at the same time, the baby and the mother. Sometimes three, sometimes four, because women carry triplets or even quintuplets and whatnot. So that was another aspect. And practically speaking, I believe that gynecology is an evergreen business. You don't take long to sort of you don't have to struggle much to get settled into your practice in private practice, especially in India. And I belong to a part of Maharashtra, Western Maharashtra, which has a very rich and a very respectable tradition of male gynecologists. Maybe you heard the names of Dr. B.N. Purandare, Dr. V.N. Shirodkar,
Yes.
Dr. A.V. Umranikar, all these doyens of obstetrics and gynecology in Western Maharashtra, they actually did all the hard work and they tilled the field and sowed the seeds for us to reap the harvest. So, because of this, in Western Maharashtra at least, the male gynecologists are not discriminated against, especially by women. But of course, being man has its own advantages and disadvantages. One has to be, of course, everybody has to, but as a man, one has to be even more respectful, dignified, and one has to be seen to be respecting the women's identity as a whole. Otherwise, you will never be able to gain the confidence of your patients. Apart from being academically perfect and having adequate skills, that goes without saying. As a man, I feel that I can treat the infertile couples better because one has to talk to the man, the infertile couple, the male partner. One has to examine the male partner. However much you may talk about and brag about gender equality, no man will ever strip in front of a woman gynecologist to be examined by a female to check if everything is all right, even if it is for infertility. Whereas the opposite often happens, like I have a thriving practice. That is an advantage. So I believe that, and of course, very, very, very rarely, but though I haven't experienced it myself, but some of my colleagues, male gynecologists, have narrated incidents wherein women have been nasty, have made allegations of sexual touch and such other things, and then that was the time when I heard this. That was the time I realized that how vulnerable a male gynecologist can be. But apart from that, I also realized that how vulnerable women otherwise feel in this society all the time. As a doctor and as a male gynecologist, it's only once in a while that I may face such an incident, though the risk is always there. But women face this all the time at home and in society as well.
I am so floored with this empathetic view. I've never heard a man have this view because when we roll this campaign on, we had women who have messaged us, you're putting a lot of responsibility on boys. Please spare them. It's the girl's responsibility. So you see, even how we are conditioned, and the
Yeah,
way you
yeah.
put it, instead of taking it personally, saying, okay, men go through this. And there are so many of my good friends also who have said, you've been doing so much for, and they think that this campaign key to change is about anti-women. No, this is not anti-women. This is exactly what you pointed out. It is empathy towards each other as individuals. So and you brought it out so wonderfully that male gynecologists have to probably go through this once in a while, or no, it's not an everyday occasion. But for women, like from 1 hour to the other, if I have to travel, if I have to use public transport, if I have to go for my work, I do have this constant thing in my subconscious: what will happen? Will anyone kind of violate my space or my boundaries? Brilliantly put. And I hope men who are listening to this, young boys on Instagram, look at this approach. And this is how real men think, not the pseudo manhood that is publicized in media, in advertisements, and probably even around in your family. You have so many male members who keep talking that आदमी को ऐसे होना चाहिए तभी वो सच्चा मर्द है. So amazing, amazing. I'm so floored to listen to that empathy part. Amazing. um I'm sure, like like a couple of decades back into that society when you were born, like 70s, 60s. um how has your journey been, like growing from a boy and the transition to become a man? How was the society then? What were the pressures of growing up as a boy? Were there any pressures? Do you see any change then and now, like so many decades later? So what do you have to say about it?
I believe that I was brought up in a very liberal and an open environment, in a very liberal and an open family. And all my cousins are highly educated. All my cousin sisters, they are into their own, academically, they are very good and they are into their own professions, most of them. So the idea actually, the discrimination never actually happened around me. And when I went into college, I was fortunate enough to come in contact with people with very progressive and liberal ideas. I must mention the name of two organizations that I worked for. One was Lokavidyan Sangatana. It was an organization of young scientists who were working on issues which were on the borderline of science and society. So they would
Right.
work about, of course, against blind faith and things like that, but also about water management, about gender bias, and so many related issues were taken up.
Socially sensitive issues, right?
So it was not just about Vigyan Zindabad and all that. It was also about the actual things that are happening around in this society.
Right.
So, and another one was the Andhashraddha Nirmulan Samiti. I still work for that. That was the organization
Yeah.
Blind Faith Committee for Eradication of Blind Faith. And as you are aware, the protagonist, the founder, Dr. Narendra Dabholkar, was,
Dabholkar.
yeah, he was shot dead, assassinated a few years ago, and we still don't have any clue as to who did that. But it was working with such organizations that gave me my, honed my skills and ideas about this particular aspect of uh, uh, a person's point of view towards another person. That is how I would put it.
Right. Right. So, but when you were growing from a boy to a man, the way you said, there is nobody who's coming and sitting down with a boy and talking about, okay, now you have got your, you're getting your mustaches, or your voice is changed, it is cracked up, or you see a bed sheet that is wet. So I'm being very open and blunt. In those days, do you think, of course it wasn't a culture then, but did you how did you cope as a young boy? How did you get your information from? I'm sorry for
I
being so direct, and this was not, but I think this is something that
I
my
believe
viewers
that's a
would love
good
to know.
question. That's a good question. My boys of my age in our school, obviously we had a peer group and seniors teaching us as to what is what
Okay.
about the birds and the bees.
Okay.
And I was told, like everybody else in the school, that one drop of semen is created from 100 drops of blood. And as I grew up and I grew up into a gynecologist, I visited so many schools and I talked to so many teachers, so many students. And I realized that the schools in Maharashtra could be classified according to the number of drops that are of blood that are required for a drop of semen. There are schools with 25, there are schools with 50, 75, and 100. So
Amazing.
so yeah, all
Amazing.
this information, misinformation as well as a lot of missing information, it got corrected all of a sudden when I got to read a book about sex and sexuality and growing up, which was in Marathi. So
Okay.
that the book, probably my father left it on my table for me to read without telling me
Wow.
so. So that is how I got my ideas right. And then of course I did a lot of reading, because reading was the only way that you could get information there. There was
That's
no net, there was no.
there was no
Yes.
net, you were saved. I mean, there was so much of safety around you. You had the safety net because there was no explosion of so many social media sites and this online pornography and all of it. And
Yes.
I love that gesture. Your father at that time puts a book related to sexuality in Marathi. It was there in your mother tongue, and you read it. And that is so even to listen to this feels like, for Indian parents especially. I think today, if you don't talk to your kids about sex and sexuality, they will not have a safety net like Dr. Shantanu had, or even we had while we were growing up. Now it's like it's not even a set of seniors who will have a moral compass and who will guide the younger lot. It's a totally cruel and a very unsafe environment. So it's very important that we start this conversation. And I think he's just given us an idea. Dr. Shantanu just mentioned drop a book. There are so many books that are available. Cactus Foundation will make a list of Marathi books. Sir, we would love if you can later, send
I'll
us a
share
list of
that.
Marathi books. Yes, any literature in Marathi, Hindi, and English as well. So we'll compile that, and we will post it as a post on Instagram as well as on Facebook, so people can actually take advantage and drop the book, and also a note that you can talk your doubts out with me. So parents need to also add a note to it, that talk it out with us once you read the book. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
nowadays I don't think students and boys will like to read books. They can visit the net and visit the Cactus Foundation site, which has got so many good videos. You
Yes.
mentioned my YouTube channel with 9 million hits.
Yes.
Do you know why it's
Yes,
9
we are going to
million?
do that.
Yeah, it is
Yes, I
because
saw your
I talk
content. It's
about,
amazing.
yes, adolescent education, just sitting in a chair, no visuals, nothing, straight,
We don't
simple,
need it
scientific,
ideally.
direct talks. Yeah, that's all.
Yes.
And this
Yes,
this
please.
number 9 million, it actually is an indicator of the felt need of the society and the gap
Absolutely.
between the felt need and the supply, demand and supply. So it always reminds me as a doctor how how inadequate I have been in reaching this particular audience.
No, but you're doing an amazing job. Someone has to begin, and you've done that. I mean, as a doctor, also, I've seen many doctors also become uncomfortable when you talk about this. There
Very
are so
true.
many doctors who get their children to me saying, "Okay, you talk to them about sex education," and I personally believe that parents are the best counselors, and they
They
have to
are,
be
but
because
then you
you
need
can
to
talk to the
need to
kids.
need to need to have the knowledge and the skills. It just
Yes,
doesn't come to you
have
because you have children. You don't become good counselors.
yes,
So
absolutely,
parents need to do their homework. They
yes,
need to brush up. They need to build up courage, even to utter words like penis and vagina and sex and things like that. So it is
absolutely,
a learned skill. It doesn't come
right.
to anybody and
Yes.
everybody,
I think
and
we
we
just
must
got
take the help
disconnected
of
on
technology.
Instagram. I think we are connecting
Yeah, we
right
are. I
again.
can see that
Yeah,
going round and round.
just 2 minutes. But amazing. While I'm talking to you, I'm actually thinking there's so much I have, and we can work together. And I mean, the kind of, because You speak in Marathi, and in Maharashtra, in India, Hindi. I mean, we need people to talk
Speak in various
vocally
languages.
about
Yeah.
this. We need to have a strong thing. Okay, my next question to you is sex a bad word? I know your answer, but I want to hear.
It is not, but it is made to be. No? We had an exercise some time ago. I was the chairperson of the Sexual Medicine Committee of the National Organization of OBGYNs. You know? I was the first chairman of this committee. It was formed in 2011 to sort of, educate and train doctors in treating patients with sex and sexuality issues,
Okay.
problems. So we sort of an exercise, and we asked people to write down words that first come to their mind after after the word sex is uttered. you know. And of course, there were some good words also, but a lot of bad words. Bad in the sense negative words, like sin, crime, wrong, perversions, dirty, and so many other, immoral, and so many other words that would come to their mind. But in fact, we must emphasize and explain that sex is a beautiful experience. As compared to other animals, humans perhaps are the only species that have sex for recreation and for procreation. Other animals are focused on reproduction. Humans are focused on reproduction and entertainment. So they find solace, they find fun in sex. One of the books that are translated from English into Marathi is by Jared Diamond. It is titled Why Sex Fun? you know, and it explores the evolutionary aspects of why humans have sex for recreation. That is what
Okay.
the book is about. It's a wonderful book. you know. So human sex and sexuality is guided not by season, like in other mammals, but by reason. Because you have the social mores, you have the family values, you have the
Right.
laws, and you have certain
Right.
expectations of and your own choices. So it's all this put together to sort of create an acceptable sexuality, acceptable to you as well as acceptable to the society and the law and
Society.
so many other
Right.
aspects.
Great. I mean, I think what I also believe is that, what happens in schools is in terms of sex education, there are two separate diagrams. It's the like body anatomy, and it's so funny. Nobody's, and I believe like even in our times, we were clueless. I mean, to be very honest, I mean, when I got to know about sex, maybe it was, we had a rough idea, but what is the actual process? You actually get to know once you're in graduation, and even that's not a fair idea until you have your own encounter. I mean, let me put it that way. You're just so clueless and you don't know what to do. And these words that it is a sin, it is a crime, it is something that you're not supposed to speak about, and everybody's like hush hush about it. And on our fieldwork also, doctor, what we notice why we have begun this campaign, Key to Change, Raise Responsible Boys, is because there's so many young boys who get what you call is sexually abused as children, and because of this shame that you're talking about, and because of the pressure that men cannot feel ashamed, or men are not supposed to feel weak, men have to be strong. Even young boys as young as 7, 8, 9, they kind of keep it to themselves, they keep suffering and they don't open up and they don't talk about it. And one more thing is in sex education, don't you think we have to include intimacy? We must add the concept of intimacy. So one is entertainment, but the other part is also about intimacy is so important. Our boys need to learn more about intimacy than about how to actually or technically, mechanically have sex.
Yeah, the best way, Nusrat, is not to use the word sex education at all, because it is better
Okay.
to use the word sexuality education, or probably as some of the school boards in India do, use the word life skill education. Because it is
Right.
not just about the anatomy, physiology, hormones, mustaches, and breast development and menses. No, it is not that. It is about growing up. It is about choosing your own values. Remember, it's choosing your own values. Nobody need tell you that this is right and this is wrong. Once you are growing up, you should develop the skills to choose and stick to your own values. And
Right.
young boys and girls need to be talked to about every aspect of sex and sexuality, not just anatomy and physiology. And that is why I call this sexuality education. You know? Because they have to talk about gender bias, they have to be informed about the PCPNDT, that is selective female feticide, that's a problem in India.
Right.
They have
Right.
to talk about dowry and dowry deaths, that's also a problem. They have to talk about choosing the right career, about girls dropping out of the education system. So all these are issues, and this cannot be left to the biology teacher. I believe that
Absolutely.
sexuality education is in every subject. Even language is sexually loaded.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in
I
all the
totally
Indian
resonate with
languages,
what you're saying.
right? In all the Indian languages, you will have words that indicate smaller objects which are of the feminine gender and the larger ones of the male gender. You know, that is what happened. So there is a todor and tidori. जो छोटी होती
Right.
है.
We have lost
So
so many marks in this gender thing. Yeah. I know.
yeah, so I think that is very very important, and it should
So
happen
it's
at
like,
the school level.
yes.
And people, when I talk about this in schools, the teachers in the staff room, when we're sharing a cup of tea, then they tell me that, doctor, you should have been to our school when we were adolescents. No?
Oh wow.
that,
I know that's the biggest compliment you get.
that's the biggest
Yes,
compliment.
yes.
But initially their attitude is something like, what is the doctor
I
going to
know.
come and talk about? Is he going to show some pornographic pictures? Are we going to have a sort of a very bad feedback from the students as well as their parents? You know?
That the teachers are too scared. The principal is too scared. It happens with us also. तुम्ही काय
Yes.
दाखवणार? What are you going to show? What is the PPT about?
The
Don't
only
use the
answer
word sex.
is,
Use child
yeah,
abuse. Yeah.
right, right. No, the only answer is that you tell them that as teachers, do you believe that education improves a human being's behavior? If education improves the behavior, all sort of education should do the same thing. So it's the way it is given, and it has to be age appropriate, scientifically correct, and like with a connect with the students, and with a bridge, a tool of communication, so that you get feedback, questions, and the right
Right.
answers reach the right person. So all these aspects,
Yes.
components are
And they
important.
also need to have a safe space where our kids can actually come back. Like, okay, you're giving a piece of information, the way you say feedback, but we also need to create a safe space where they can share their experiences,
True.
probably get guidance for it or get their, counseling for it. And that is one thing that is actually missing in the system overall. And it's not just school students, I guess, Doctor. We should have like even for these college going students also, they also need it because they've been deprived of this. And the graduate and postgraduate students need a premarital overall course, where it includes all these things together. There's so much work, but life is so
I'll,
short, you know that.
I'll tell you that when I started practice, that was way back in 1997. No, sometime in the 80s, AIDS came to India.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
all of a sudden, the Indian society sort of, matured. You could see slogans, condom cup cup, young someone jab jab. And then kids asking their parents, what is this young someone? What is condom? Because it used to be written everywhere, you know. And the school
Right.
and the college administrations, they were received government fatwas saying that have a class on AIDS. Now these students who were never exposed even to human anatomy, physiology, and the basic information about sex and sexuality, they were being told about AIDS and AIDS prevention and this and that. No? So it was like teaching postgraduate subject to kindergarten students. And now we have this lockdown, corona, and internet, and the schools happening on Zoom and such other things. And the kids have suddenly become net savvy, and parents have realized that it is so easy to be on the net and to get carried away by pornographic information, and wrong
Absolutely.
information in the wrong age from a wrong source is the biggest menace.
Yes. And we are going, we have so many cases, we get so many distress calls. And I think on an average, one of the studies even in India has shown, I don't have the source with me, but I remember reading it, that at least 14 hours is how much that an Indian child invests to watch pornography. 14 hours a week. So that's a huge thing. I mean, whether you watch it for half an hour or whatever time. You actually get corrupt watching it in any which way.
Yes,
And forget
yes.
the moral and the religious grounds. I believe, like, even as an individual, for your own self, it's not really recommended, but I hope parents understand. So what would your message be to the parents? Like, how do they overcome this barrier, or why should they talk about it, and how should they talk to their kids? What do
Now,
you
first
say?
of all, the parents should do their homework well. There are some books available in English. There are plenty of material available on the net. But even in Indian languages, there are very good books available. I can name one. It is called Hello Sexuality. That's the name of the book. Hello Sexuality. It's a book in Marathi, and it is a book for the parents, teaching them how to talk to their children about sex and sexuality.
Okay.
And the author in the preface, he says that he himself is a doctor, of course, and he went into his building and he was going up the elevator, and somebody had scratched by the on the elevator on the sides, "Fuck you." And this small girl, she would just learn to read and write, and she asked, "Papa, fuck you manje kai re? What does fuck you mean?" And that actually set him thinking that, well, my child unknowingly has asked this question today, but she will want to know the answer. And that is what set him thinking. And it's compiled a very nice book. So I believe that parents should do their homework. They should be very candid, very open. If they don't know the answer, say so, accept, apologize, get the correct answer, meet a doctor, meet a nurse, whoever it is, a health professional, get the information and see to it that the right information reaches your child. Because
Right.
as Nusrat rightly pointed out, everybody has step parents nowadays, the television and the internet. So if you don't step in, the step parents will step in, and they will do a very bad job of bringing up your children.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and do you think there is this absence of consent culture, and especially in India, what I have seen is uh, there is a bias regarding consent when it comes to male and female. Women are supposed, or they are continuously being burdened to have seeking permissions for everything, like, being apologetic for everything that they're doing, for whatever choice they are making, and at whatever age. I mean, even a young girl or like a 60-year-old grandma, all of us have to be apologetic and always seek permission and consent. But the rules are totally different for men. So do you think we should be initiating this consent culture, especially for boys? I mean, they definitely need to learn that a no is a no, and it's not just sexually. I think in every domain. What is your take on the consent culture that we have currently, and what can be done?
I think what you said is very correct, but then that is a fallout of the whole process of growing up or bringing up children and the culture that they see around them. If that is the way their family members behave with their women in the family, that the child is going to pick up that type of behavior and that type of attitude. That's going to happen, and it's a long drawn out process. But I am a firm believer that education changes minds and education enlightens. So I guess we just have to keep on doing the hard work, and the
Right.
challenges will keep changing all the time.
Right. 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 Absolutely. And I think this basic idea of consent needs to begin in families, like simple things like when you're rubbing your child's nose, why, instead of just taking the handkerchief or a tissue and grabbing his nose, there is always one simple sentence that you can ask the child and say, okay, your nose is running, do you think I can help you with it? And I think it begins, because then the boys also pick it up from there.
Yeah,
Simple things and small things that we can initiate.
yeah.
that's
We are
that's very
apes
good. And
actually, and we ape our parents and adults in the family.
right. Okay. I want to know personally, now this is going to be interesting. There are rigid gender roles, right? When it comes to occupation, the way we said, okay, there cannot be a female gynecologist. And are you going to talk? What are you going to talk? Someone also messaged me saying, "Are you going to talk about STDs and all internal issues?" I was like, "What are internal issues? And why would I discuss this with him in public? I mean, if I have an issue, I will go to him or any other gynecologist." So it has been very funny in those ways. But people have rigid gender roles, especially in India. Even now, even the most educated families have rigid gender roles, even when it comes to sports, choosing a sport, choosing a hobby, or choosing your profession, or even within the family. A woman is supposed to have a career and at the same time make sure that her family is getting, like, home cooked meals all the time with her own hands, and she's managing the home. And then you call her a superpower, put her on another pedestal, celebrate Women's Day, and you're like, wow. But I want to know personally, you as a man, what are the different gender roles apart from being a gynecologist? What have you disrupted or tried to disrupt in your family, in your workplace, or outside socially?
Uh, well, in my family, me and my wife both are postgraduate qualified doctors, and both of us earn, and decisions regarding finance or whatever family matters are obviously taken together. I have a son and a daughter, and of course, I make it a point that there is no discrimination. They will be able to tell you better if I have been successful. And at my workplace, it's basically a gynecology clinic. It's a lone standing obstetric gynec unit. So all my staff is female staff. But even women need training to be gentle, to be respectful towards patients. Because when you are a health professional, like you said, you ought to take care of your patient. So we train our staff from time to time, giving the correct dose of medicine to the correct patient, things like that.
Right, right. That's amazing. But do you agree that we need to disrupt gender roles as well so that we can streamline the genders, allow everyone the equal opportunities that they deserve or that they need, right?
True, true. Absolutely.
Great. Now, I also want to know that you've been working in the rural area as well as you have such huge, immense exposure in the urbanite crowd as well, because you've been socially active, you've been an orator, and you've been doing a lot of stuff. And I'm sure it's not just one topic, you are master of so many things. That's how I see you. So, you have to tell me what is the attitude with respect to, like, when you talk to people from the rural area, what is the response like? And when you talk to the urbanites and the most educated elite lot, what is the response? Is there any difference that you notice, or what is it like in terms of receptiveness or in terms of the overall attitudes and the implementation of what you have told them? How is it different in both the counts?
Basically, the attitude is the same.
Okay.
It's the same human beings who have been brought up in different, probably more resourceful and poorly resourced environment. That's about all. The attitude of men towards women, women towards men, and towards each other, it more or less remains the same. But as a practitioner, I do come across cases of domestic violence, which is very common.
Yeah.
I once in a while women admit, like you can imagine how difficult it is to admit such things to a male gynecologist. But once in a while, I do find women who admit to having suffered marital rape.
Yes.
Neglect is very, very common. Women suffering because of addictions that the husband has, and the whole family, of course, suffering is again very, very common. I believe that these are the issues in urban or rural areas, wherever across the country. The type of the presentation will be different. Like
Different.
if you ask, it used to be once upon a time like this. Now the system has changed a little bit. We have good voluntary donors, but in some parts of India, I'm sure that if a bleeding woman is brought into the clinic and she's wheeled into the operation theater, and somebody comes out and says that she requires, say, 4 pints of blood, uh, are there anybody willing to donate? And all of them will disappear at the same time. No? They just disappear. The relatives who are accompanying the woman, they will just disappear. So this used to happen once upon a time. Now things have changed for the better. Why even men are discriminated against in gynecology clinics? You can visit any clinic in any small town and you will find that There are no clean semen collection rooms. And
Yeah.
semen examination is such an important investigation.
True. True.
And you
Very true.
need to respect the dignity and the privacy of this particular person. And the men are expected to masturbate in a very, very smelly, sticky, dirty, dark, cobwebbed bathroom. And I would give a normal report, if they have been able to even produce semen in such an environment on compassionate ground, I believe that it should be.
I can understand that. Yes, yes.
So the discrimination happens, and respectful, environment is the need of the both the genders.
Both the genders. And that's exactly what we are trying to say with this campaign, Plea to Change, is that this discrimination, these biases, it's not just affecting women. It's also a man's problem because ultimately, it's also a lot of help that men need, and it's very difficult. Or men have been trained not to show their emotions. Don't show your emotions. Don't talk about it. So how is it like? Male to male, do you have male friends who validate your feelings, who acknowledge, or is it easy? What is it that stops men from like expressing themselves? What do you believe? Why don't boys and young men, or men especially, they don't talk? It's so difficult for them to express. What can
Yeah.
the reason be?
Actually, just as females suffer because of the male-dominated society, the patriarchal society,
Right.
men also suffer because of the patriarchy. Because men are expected to be the sort of, the man of the family, the breadwinner of the family, the one to take decisions, the one who will go and settle a fight with the neighbor in case things go wrong,
Yes.
and things like that. And there are men who feel burdened because of this,
Yes.
who feel challenged doing all these things. And they, regardless, continue because of social pressures and family pressures. Otherwise, they will be seen as a sissy or a nincompoop. That
Yes.
yes, that happens. Of course, it happens because all this. It's not just liberation of women. It is in fact liberation of men as well from the shackles of the gender biases which work against them. Although many work for them, there are few that work against them.
Right, absolutely. And that's exactly the action point 12 that is there on our in our videos and in the material that we are trying to say, that try to break this man box that the society
Yes.
has created. Don't try to fit yourself in, because the more you're going to try and fit yourself in, you are heading towards this toxic masculinity, which is affecting women, transgenders, the LGBTQ community, and men themselves. So all of us as human beings are being affected with this issue of man box, and it's important that you have to break the man box. What is your message to all the boys and men who are listening to you? What would you like to tell them?
I think my whatever we discussed was the message, but to put it in a nutshell, I would say that men need to free themselves from this patronizing and paternalistic attitude that has been ingrained into us right since childhood. That is the first thing that I would say. And we have to respect individuality, respect the other person's space, be equal partners with the opposite sex, and we need to constantly relook. It's just not an instantaneous process. It's an ongoing process which remains or should go on lifelong. We have to constantly relook at our own ideas, at our behavior, at the language that we use, at the jokes that we crack, and every aspect of social interaction, and keep correcting ourselves in case we need course correction in the light of these ideas of gender equality, liberalism, rationalism, and science, of course.
Wow, beautiful message, and I hope everyone who's listening to this, and they're going to log on and then listen to this conversation later as well. It's a very important takeaway. And he's talking about empathy, he's talking about this constant introspection and also rediscovery, I believe. That's what you meant. You have to
Right.
rediscover yourself on all levels, in all spheres, and in all planes. That is really, really important. Um, I don't think so. This is going to be the only live with you. I loved talking to you, And I'm sure there's a lot in common, because when I was speaking to you, I felt I'm speaking to my teammates, and these are the kind of conversations that we easily have. And we want someone who can easily talk without any, you can say, barriers, because I've seen speakers also, they do come and then they have those barriers and they kind of give me notes, please don't ask me this, please don't ask me, don't touch this, because it will be a little awkward na sabke samne. So you have given us complete freedom to talk to you. That's so so wonderful about you. And now we're heading to the last segment of this talk, and that is ask the host whatever you can. So you can actually ask me my age as well right now, whatever. They say that don't ask a woman her age. I don't believe in that crap. So any question to the host is your call now. So you can just question.
A gentleman is a person who remembers a woman's birthday but not her age.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you. Your voice was cracking.
A gentleman is a person who remembers a woman's birthday but not her age.
Okay, whatever. Yes. So what's your question, doctor? Do you have a question for me?
No, I have only one, and that is your your work and your message should reach a wider audience. And I believe that you should work on this a lot more. And as you said, that there's plenty to be done. And with technology, it is possible to do it single-handedly, sitting at your home. It is possible. So because of this corona epidemic, the schools have suddenly gone online. Children have mobiles in their hands. So we must reach them and give them the right age appropriate information from an appropriate source. You're doing a wonderful job. Wish you all the best. And I am firmly with you. Whatever I can contribute, I'm always there to help you.
Yes, I'm publicly, even without taking your consent, I'm saying we are proposing collaboration right here on the live, because we want, see, single-handedly it's
That
difficult, because I have kids and the team size is less, the funds are not there, there are too many challenges. But we need like-minded people who can get on board and take this movement, we can actually penetrate the interiors, the rural areas, India basically, because abroad I've seen they have so many people who are constantly developing content in terms of books, in terms of workshops, and people pay and take such courses and stuff. Here, even if you're giving it for free, there's no value to it, and second, there's a lot of groundwork in India. So it's not that easy that we tell them, okay, fine, you read this book, you publish a book, and then they will read it. So there has to be a lot of, I think, some strong collaborations like with you, so we can actually work together and see to it that yes, this message of sexuality education and needs to reach more people. And also the fact that boys, I think I'm trying to actually ask people. I asked a couple of men as well, you must all get on board, because men talking to men is different, when young boys will listen to you what you're saying, they will, it kind of connects, there is a connect, so we need more men like you to come on the forum like this, or even in their own spaces, talk to young boys about their responsibilities and their what you call is that they need to live a full life, they need to take care of their mental health, they need to take care of themselves, and they need to be emotionally healthy, most important. So that is what we believe. Thank you so much for joining us, and we would love to have
thank
you
you. It
back
was a
very
wonderful
soon.
opportunity.
And it was wonderful talking to you, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. We don't see any questions. If there are any questions, we will again get back to you and you can answer, and we will get back on the forum again. Okay? Thank you so much. It was lovely meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, with this, we are ending this live on Facebook, and we will be posting this on the Instagram also, because the Instagram had some connection issues. So, the same video on from the Facebook, we will be putting it on the IGTV channel, maybe by tomorrow evening max, so that more people can see it on Instagram also the way it is. And I will be sending you the link on WhatsApp also, so that we can share it with maximum people. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. God bless you. So I hope you all like the live, and I hope you all will join us for the next live that is going to happen soon. Please stay tuned and watch this space.